Hey, it's the Stephen Glick, most powerful sorcerer on earth, and I'm going to teach you the tarot. So, without getting too deep into the story, I was at a pivotal moment in my life, and I was out meditating, and I saw the backs of 4 tarot cards arranged like this. I immediately knew that you could position the court cards in this way. After doing that, I was out on a walk, I ran home, and I set up the minor arcana. So I realized that same pattern could be applied to the minor arcana. So you have 1, 2, 4, 2, 1. So we started with 1, 2, 1. Now we got 1, 2, 4, 2, 1. Same sort of thing. And if you want to just look here, you can imagine that there's like an invisible line going up there. Invisible lines kind of going across, up and down. Sort of the inherent structure of the tarot. And there's the major arcana. As you can see, follows this same pattern of doubling and then halving, except now we're going bigger. So we have 1, 2, 4, 8, 4, 2, 1. Add them up, that's 22. Now here's the thing though, is that when you first lay them out like this, you're like, okay, wow, what does this mean, right? How does this all work? Well, first, imagine these same vertical lines, horizontal lines, so things actually pair up. So up here, Fool is actually a neutral energy. Then you have the High Priestess and the Magician. These are like yin and yang. Okay, we got yin and yang over here. So this half of the major arcana is like yin energy, and this half is like yang energy. So like negative energy, positive energy, neutral. Those two, neither positive and negative, but I'll get into that later. So here's the thing though. You could see an obvious left and right dichotomy between Magician and High Priestess, but Sun and Judgment here, it doesn't quite work. So I realized that this is the default order of the deck, right? I took the standard order of the tarots, laid them from Fool at the top, World at the bottom. Then I realized, okay, wait a minute. This doesn't quite make sense. We have to swap some stuff. So check this out. If we swap the Moon with Judgment, something interesting will happen, right? Notice how visually there's this sort of similarity between these two cards. Those two are actually meant to be swapped. There's, as I said, a visual dichotomy between the top and the bottom. Up here is the microcosm, down here is the macrocosm. So again, visual up and down. But then we put Moon, Sun, again, yin, yang, but then these guys have a visual vertical up there. So the Sun is actually connected to the Magician, and the Moon is actually connected to the High Priestess. Okay, so next thing. We swap these cards down here. Moon, Sun, Earth. This is like our trinity, our triad. So I'm going to put the cards that we've locked in, I'm going to turn them to the side a little bit so we know that we've locked in the positions of these. If we look up here though, we still got to figure out, okay, what do all these cards mean? So the next thing that we got to look at to swap are actually Empress and Emperor. The reason being that the Emperor if it's yang energy, masculine, positive energy, that should go on the further side out, whereas the feminine energy is going this way. So we got masculine going this way, feminine going this way. So right now, with Empress and Emperor swapped, they're not in their correct positions. So we're going to take Empress, move her right there, put him right there, boom. So I'm not going to pull it up right now, but go check out the Rebus diagram and look at the astrological symbols for the planets up there. These top 7 cards, all right, we're going to do that. These top 7 cards are the planets. So you got Fool, Mercury, Moon, Sun, Mars, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter. Boom. And so here's what I'm going to do is we're also going to move these guys up into their own little groups. And pull that down a little bit. So we figured out the bottom, figuring out the top. You can lock these guys in, put them over to the side. Now, if we know a little bit about Kabbalah or the structure of 22, you have the 3, you got 7, and then you got 12. So this is a trinity. Those are the planets. This is the zodiac right here. But now, what's what? Because this is a little mixed up too. First, we got to ask ourselves, how is the zodiac split up? Well, you got the cardinals, the mutables, and the fixed signs. So I had to figure out what goes where for these 12 cards. I realized though, you gotta figure out, because one group is on just its own level, whereas then the 2 other ones are on their own level as well. So you gotta figure out which one's which. I realized the 4, those gotta be the cardinals. That's kind of where you're starting with, has to be the cardinal. So in order to understand the elements, we got water, air, earth, and fire. These then would be Cancer, hang on. All right, sorry. I had to stop recording for a sec. So, this is water, air, earth, fire. So for the cardinals, we're going to have Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, and Aries. Now, after thinking about it and doing some contemplating, I realized, okay, we have to figure out then the difference between the ones that are on this layer here on the 8. So from here, we have to set it up as it's between fixed and mutable. So fixed is definitely going to be the yang side of things, and mutable is going to be the other side of things. Now I'm focusing here for a reason, because starting from the standard tarot, and this is where these cards lie. And I realized that these cards are in the correct position. So we could say, yes, Cancer. So fixed water, Scorpio, okay. Mutable water, Pisces, easy. And I realized, okay, just to show that the tarot was set up this way, very much on purpose, those ones already work. Once you figure out the sort of system. These ones then have to get rearranged. But once you understand that the order in terms of cardinal, fixed, mutable, you can go really quickly and easily and kind of figure out the rest of them. The issue with the tarot, though, I realized, is that the cards and the meanings have kind of drifted over the centuries. So for something like the Lovers, for example, at first you might think to yourself, okay, what does the Lovers have to do with Jupiter? But when these cards were made originally, these would have had Roman gods on them, right? Think about then, instead of Jupiter, it then being Zeus. What is then the mythology of Zeus? Okay, that card takes on a totally different meaning then once you put it in that context, but that's what those would then be. So Mercury, Sun, Moon, Mars, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter. All right, getting back down here. So we know that we're going to have to put cardinal air here. Easiest choice for that, for Libra, is that right there. So we're going to put some stuff over to the side for a minute. Another easy fit, another one, fixed fire. Right over here for Leo. That's another easy call. And we could put this over here for cardinal earth, for Capricorn. And actually these two just have to get swapped then, right there. So we're gonna have Tower as Aries. Hang on, sorry, I'm moving stuff around down here. I don't wanna move. Boom. So Aries, Capricorn, Libra, Cancer. Getting back over here though, so let's work on this some more. So if we want to finish off fire, mutable fire, Sagittarius, another easy call with the wheel. Going back to earth, fixed. And we're going to put Hanged Man over here. Wait, no. Boom. Mutable earth, fixed earth. So it's going to be Taurus and Virgo. Chariot as mutable air, Gemini. And fixed air, Aquarius with the star. And pretty sure I got that right. Okay, so I just had to double check everything. Yes, that's right. So once we shift things around in just this last little area, we can lock in the zodiac. And then that's it, man. That's the whole 22. And I will make more videos in the future to really fully explain it some more, but I'll just go over it again, just so you can see the math, see the groups, understand the groups. So 7 planets up top here. 7 planets, those guys. 12 zodiac below that. And then the 3 at the bottom there. Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, Taurus, Virgo, Aquarius, Gemini, Scorpio, I'm saving that one for last because that's Pisces. All right, but that's it. You know, you got your 3 here, your 12 there, and your 7 up there. It's been a long night, man. Anyway, I'll have more videos in the future, but those are the major arcana. And just 1 or 2 more words about it is that there's a lot of different stories and myths about the tarot, but the reality is at its core, the tarot is actually a symbolic structure that in order to understand what the cards actually really mean, you have to sit there and understand this structure. Over time, these different cards, well, let me back up. I believe originally that each card only really represented these different things that we've talked about here in terms of the 7 planets, 12 zodiac, and then that trinity at the bottom. The issue is, though, is that over the centuries, the cards have sort of taken on an identity of their own, and the meanings then have gotten lost and shuffled around, and people then want to start attributing different things that don't really exist to these cards. But once you go back and you understand this structure and kind of how the cards actually work and how the structure is actually formed, you can realize that they were always just these original archetypes of the Trinity, the zodiac, and the planets. And then to attribute anything more to them is to stray from the actual meaning. So instead of focusing on, well, this book says this book says that, well, this guy said this about the cards. No. Just understand the structure. I'll post more videos so I can explain the structure, what it really means, how it actually works, but that's the major arcana. And I don't want to say that's the old tarot because, I didn't mention much about the court cards and the minors, and it's coming soon. But if you really understood this dichotomy between cards, between above and below, positive and negative for the yin and yang, positive, negative, microcosm, macrocosm. If you can understand that, you could understand the rest of the tarot. And I'll just say that the court cards are the internal world, the psychology. Minor are the external world, the physical world. And the major arcana are both internal and external. But that's coming more on another episode, so stick around, check out the next one. It's my pleasure to show you the true tarot. Signing off, this is Stephen Glick, most powerful sorcerer on earth. It's my pleasure to show you the tarot.